So you want to start?
Good morning. Yes, let's start. There's quorum.
Okay, we'll start with introductions. I'm Ron Onslow, City of Ridgefield. Let's just chime in.
Jim Hodges, City of Camas.
Tracy Coleman, City of Woodland.
We got two there. What was the second one?
Dave Scott, City of West Hugo.
Dave.
And Tracy Coleman, City of Woodland.
Marina Beret, Town of Yakult.
Chair Starosher, City of Battleground.
Justin Monzard, City of Camas.
I thought I saw Mr. Phillip out there. Are you there?
Yes, sir, but I'm just viewing today.
You're
Mr. Rogers is running our ship.
Well, you're still a guest, you know.
Well,
so.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
An honored guest, of course.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else want to introduce themselves?
Yeah, we can run through staff really quick. Emily Langston, Program Coordinator with Clark County.
Okay.
Michael Torres, Program Manager, Clark County. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, you're fine. Both of us are here. Michael and Rebecca are both here.
Janet.
Yes, Janet, present.
Okay, if there's no others, then we will move right on into the approval of the February 14th, 2022 minutes. I'd accept the motion to accept those as published.
Move to accept as written.
Second.
Dave Scott.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the February 14 minutes, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. All right. How about the funding updates from HUD? Who's going to handle that?
I'll take that. So these, I know usually at your March meeting, we have information available about our entitlement allocations from HUD for both the Cdbg and home funding. These are estimates that we have right now because we have not received our actual entitlement allocations. But
Emily or Rebecca, could you back up one slide, please? Because oh, there you go. No, you did fine. We went ahead to the awards for a moment. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so we have, we're estimating our entitlement funds from the 2021 entitlements. So that's the number we're using to create the overall estimates for both the Cdbg and home amounts. So we're estimating about 1.5 million. And then you can see we have infrastructure, reprogrammed and program income, and social service, reprogrammed and program income, for a total Cdbg funding amount of about 2.1 million. So we have some deductions here for regular admin, contingency, project implementation, and the regular 250,000 that we take out for the homeowner rehab program. So that leaves about 1.5 million in total CDBG funds to be awarded right now. And again, that's just an estimate. So we'll need to adjust the total funding amounts a little bit when we actually get those entitlement allocations from HUD. Same thing with home. We have an estimated 470,000 in regular home entitlement. And then we have a 2021 CHOTO set aside that was not allocated last year. That's about 83,000. And then we're estimating about the same amount again this year, because again, we're just looking at the 2021 entitlement. And at this point, estimating it'll be close to the same for 2022. We have 25,000 program income approximately for home, and then regular admin and project implementations removed leaves us with about close to 600,000 for home funds to be awarded. And so then we also, in looking at the projects that we had on hand and the applications that we received and the funding that we have, we are also going to talk to you about options for using the home ARP funds this morning. So we have a total home ARP award of about $2 million. In subtracting the admin funds, that leaves about 1.7 million for home ARP allocation. Does anybody have questions about kind of what we're looking at here? Again, the home ARP funds, that's actually the amount that we have received. CDBG and home are estimates, but we think they're probably pretty good estimates that we'll be able to kind of adjust allocations without having huge impacts on like projects selected or our ability to fund them out.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, I guess not, Emily.
I guess then we can move on to talking through our staff recommendations for funding awards. So these amounts are estimates. There's going to be, this didn't take into account some program income amounts. So we're going to need to adjust these slightly. And we're going to need to adjust them a little bit additionally when we get our actual CDBG and home entitlement amounts and we know exactly what program income amounts are. So they'll change a little bit. But here, okay, this is what we're recommending right now is essentially to allocate all of the CDBG, all of the home, and also use the home ARP funds to fund out the rest of the affordable housing and homelessness projects that we received applications for. And there's a few reasons for that. Home ARP is able to fund both the TBRA and the case management for these TBRA projects. We would usually allocate some CDBG funds to TBRA projects, but we are, if you choose to do so, able to fund those out with home ARP. So that's what we're recommending at this point. Second Step Housing is the only CHOTO organization that is able to use those funds, and we have a required 15% set aside in our home funds for CHOTOs every year. So we have about $160,000 between 2021 and 2022 because it was not allocated last year that we need to get out the door basically to stay on track with using our funds. So we're recommending that be allocated to Second Step Housing, along with additional home funds to make this as close to 400,000 as we can get. This was a lower scoring application, so it's possible this would be a little bit under what they requested, depending on when the award actually comes in and we find out how much funds exactly there will be to give out. But that's where we're suggesting to fund to put the home funds, as well as balance of home funds going into Proud Grounds Home Ownership Assistance Program. That program is not eligible for home ARP funding. Home ARP is more focused on homelessness and kind of related activities at generally a lower income than the Proud Ground program works with. So those are our recommendations for where we're putting the home funds. For CDBG, we are able to fund out the top 4 applications. That would be New Heights Clinic, Camas, Northwest 14th, Washougal, Hamlick, Basketball Court, and Ridgefield Gee Creek Loop improvements. With CDBG funds, our asset and economic development projects, we have enough CDBG funding to fund out the top 3 programs here, the Hispanic Chamber, Latinx Business Assistance, Mercy Corps Northwest Business IDA Program, and again, balancing between CDBG and home to fund out Proud Ground. And so we think when we get the actual allocation of home and CDBG, and we know exactly what that'll be, that we can shift funding around a little bit between the CDBG and home award and Proud Ground and the home award to Second Step Housing to adjust those numbers to get so that we're allocating exactly what we have. So it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, but we think we can fully fund out Proud Ground and get very close to fully funding out Second Step Housing.
Hey, Emily.
Yeah.
Before you take questions, would you mind talking a little bit under the affordable housing and homelessness, the VHA Weaver Creek Commons request versus the recommended allocation?
Yes, thank you, Michael. So then VHA for their Weaver Creek Commons project, we have about 1.7 million in home ARP funding. And so we're suggesting allocating it to all of these projects, both the TBRA and the case management for TBRA, and then basically spending out the balance of home ARP on the Weaver Creek Commons project. So when they requested 750,000, you can see here we're recommending allocating 865,000 to Weaver Creek. 750 was the maximum allowable request that we put in for the application process for home funds. So we had a conversation with VHA to kind of see where they're at with this project and what their needs are. And they made it clear that they absolutely have a need for additional home ARP funds if we have it available. They made the maximum request that they were able to make, but are certainly able to use the balance there. So we're recommending that, VHA has been a good partner. This is a project that you've all had a chance to review, and we think it makes sense to put the balance of ARP funding into that project versus looking for an additional project to use that about 115,000 with that would be left over basically after allocating to the applications that we have. Michael or Rebecca, is there anything you want to add to that? Anything I'm missing?
The only other thing that I would just mention in terms of Weaver Creek Commons is we only had 2 affordable housing unit construction proposals in this request for applications. Weaver Creek Commons is the most specific and detailed and shovel ready. It's very, it's had its review and assessment in terms of its viability. Our preference is to allocate the home ARP awards through this request for application process because proposals have been solicited, they've been reviewed by you, and it fully meets home ARP requirements. So I just wanted to highlight the fact if you see the 750 that was originally requested by VHA versus the staffing proposal and the use of the ARP funds for that proposal, those are the reasons why. And in conversations with VHA, they really do need for that project, any amount of financing they can take. And that's all I would add, Emily. Rebecca, is there anything you would add to these recommendations?
No, I would just say that we included what we've estimated for the home ARP funds in the original RFA request, which is why we accepted offers for higher than we would typically accept it through the request for application process. So we're fully meeting our public process. And this will make it so we don't have to convene the Urban County Policy Board again sometime in the future months to allocate the funds.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that we did in fact include the home ARP amounts in what would potentially be available in the request for application. And the last thing that I would also say, it should be obvious just looking at the spreadsheet, all the funding recommendations follow exactly the ranking based on your review and your scoring, Urban County Policy Board, for the different categories. So, that's really what we have used in terms of allocating the available funds to the different categories based on how the scoring fell out after your review.
I only had one point, and that was I didn't see anywhere in the scoring that said that we should not be voting for ourselves, and that's the way it's been all along. And it appears, excuse me, it appears that that's the way everybody is still voted. But you might put that in the future because you don't know whether some old guys like me might not be around that know that. So.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. That was my mistake in assigning applications to the cities, but we did remove those before we actually aggregated all of the scores. So if anybody did score their own city, I'm sorry I took your score out.
Yeah, it looks like it was all close, so I didn't think that anybody did, but I told the gal that I was working with on ours that I said, no, we don't vote for ourselves. So anyway, just a thought. Okay, is there anything else that we need to bring up on this? Are there any questions on the applicant or the project or the awards of money? Anybody? Okay.
I actually, Ron, there is one thing that I do want to mention that's in the recommendations. It could change something. It doesn't change our recommendation right now. It doesn't change what the Urban County Policy Board needs to decide or not on it, but it may lead to a change a little bit down the line. On Friday, Salvation Army did reach out to my office and indicated that they are not in a place financially right now to start making the annual payments as they had agreed to on their community center that we funded. This afternoon, I am going to be meeting with our staff internally with our contracts team and also the prosecuting attorney, not to take any negative action against Salvation Army in this, but to consider their request in terms of waiving the financial agreement that they made to get the Cdbg funds for construction of their center. But one fallout that may happen as we waive it is that we not enter into any new contracts with Salvation Army until basically until they can meet their previous contracted agreements. If that were the case, the Salvation Army Pathway of Hope TBRA funds would not be allocated. They would either roll over to next year's RFA, or they would just be made available for existing projects within home. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We did receive, that was Friday afternoon notification from Salvation Army, and we are actually doing an internal staffing of that request this afternoon. So if we had more previous discussion on this, I'd provide more information on that to the Urban County Policy Board. But that's where we're at with the Salvation Army. And just FYI, it doesn't change your It doesn't change anything on this spreadsheet at this point, but it may lead to that funding recommendation for them being put on pause.
And are you saying that that some of the monies might be switched to another program in the Salvation Army? I didn't quite understand that.
No, we would not make any additional contract or additional financial award to Salvation Army until basically they could resume their contractual obligations that they previously made with the county. So basically, the funds that had been recommended for funding this proposal would just not be allocated.
Okay,
They'd be held.
thank you. Does anybody else have any questions on this? I don't see any hands on the few people that I have showing on my screen, so you have to speak up. Seeing none, then we can, Michael, are we ready to move on then?
Well, this is an action item. So what we'd like is a request to approve the recommendation, a motion to approve the funding recommendations and a second if the UCPB agrees with this.
Okay, I would accept the motion to accept what we see in front of us on the agenda items 4 and 5.
I would move, this is Dave, I would move that we forward to the council the funding recommendations as shown on the screen.
Okay, moved by David Scott, seconded by
This is Tracy Coleman. I second.
Tracy, seconded by Tracy. Okay, are there any questions? Any concerns? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It passes. Thank you. Good job. It was, everybody is in such a need, especially now. It seems like that it's too bad we don't have more, that we can't fund everything, but at least did a really good job so far. So it's great. Thank you. All right, then that's the Home Cdbg Awards and the Home and ARP Awards. I don't think there is anything else except reports. Is that right, Michael?
Correct.
Good morning, this
Okay.
is Rebecca. And I get to
Yes.
present you the quarterly reports. So as you can see on the screen, these are the reports from October through December 2021 and the public facilities and neighborhood improvement projects. They are all, for the most part, moving forward on schedule. The Battleground Southwest 3rd project has been delayed, as have a couple of other projects due to situations with COVID and other priorities, moving other projects along within the small cities. The Camas Northwest 12th Improvements Project, that project we are still waiting for documentation on the or from the agencies for the certified payrolls. We are continuing to work with the contractor to get that documentation, but it's been very slow moving to get those documents into our office. I'll be reaching back out to them again to try to push this project along and get it completed so we can pay the city of Camas for the work that's been done. The Ridgefield Simon Street Improvements Project is noted here that the environmental is underway. It is now completed as of just last week. However, there are conditions on the environmental review that are requiring us to publicize the project and get public feedback before we can request a release of funds from HUD. We released the advertisement on Thursday. There's a 15-day public comment period before we request those funds from HUD, and then HUD has 15 days, and then we can move that project on and go into the contracting phase. The Camas Northeast 2nd Avenue project, the contract for that project is now completed. Back when this report was put together, it was still under draft, but is now completed, and design is almost finished, and bidding will start soon for that project. And then the Hamlet Park Improvements Project, that project is moving forward. They are waiting for a Davis-Bacon wage classification approval for installation of playground equipment. So we're just waiting for that documentation before we can finalize or finish that project. The Share Elevator project is also another project that is way behind schedule. And I've been working with one of their subcontractors to try to get the final documents and correct pay for the employees of that agency. So hopefully that will be finished soon. And then we have the Washougal Social Service Building. They have actually requested that we delay that project. And so we're working with them to get that project moving. And then we have the project, Lifeline Connections Mother's Recovery House project. And we are waiting for them to identify the property that they'll be purchasing for that. Next slide. For our asset and economic development programs, these are all now finishing. We worked those programs on a calendar year, so the contracts are now ended. And so these are all moving forward into their 2021 allocations, those of them that have been awarded 2021 allocations. And so the 2020 allocations for the first 3 lines are now all completed. And the last of the billings will have come in right after the deadline for this report. So you'll see on the next report that they're completely spent out for those projects and they're moving into their next round of funding. Next slide. And then our affordable housing and homelessness projects, the Grand Boulevard, Grand Pacific Apartments is nearly complete, which is exciting to have those new apartments coming online. Mercy Housing with the new housing that's going on to the Peace Health campus, that project is moving forward. Under construction, we anticipate that to be done in the next few months. And then Central Park Place Rehab, that's the project that is on the Vancouver Veterans Affairs campus. That project, the contract is now executed, and they are moving forward with the rehab of the units there. Our TBRA programs also work on a calendar year. The majority of the program, or one program, has completed at the end of December. Janus Youth has asked for a slight extension on the program, so they are just finishing out the funding that they have there. And Share has asked for an extension on their program. Janus and Share have received significant amounts of COVID funding to help with rapid rehousing type programs for what they're operating. And so it's slowed down the spending of the TBRA programs as they're using up these other funds that have a much faster looming deadline, helping those same households. So they're still stable and helping households. They're just using other funds at this time. And then they will move forward into their 2021 contracts, which are all drafted and completed and ready to go when they're ready to move into those contracts. And then with our COVID-related funds, we are close to spending out all of the funds. Janus and Share have spent out their additional funding for case management. The Mercy Corps Microenterprise Grants is almost completed for that project. And then the construction for the Battleground Healthcare is complete, and they are serving clients, and they are very excited about their new building. That is the update for the programs that are funded for home and CDBG. Are there any questions?
Questions, anybody? It's wonderful. It's moving along so well. I'm very impressed. Okay, seeing none. Other reports? Michael, do we have any other reports?
No, now we're entering in the period of the meeting, which is available for public comment. If there's anyone from the public that's calling in that has any comment to make to the Urban County Policy Board, now's the time.
Okay, is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment, such as Philip Johnson or anybody that's out there like that? Seeing none. I don't see any hands raised. Do you see any on your end?
I see Carmen Castro has a hand up.
Okay, Ms. Castro.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know if you can see me this morning, but I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for the funding for this coming year, and to continue to pursue our work for the Hispanic community in Clark County.
And you're with who, Ms.
Oh,
Castro?
yes, I'm sorry. I'm with the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber.
Okay, good. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, we would move on to National Community Development Week. Michael.
Yes, this is just an awareness piece. You know, every year we have a National Community Development Week. It's just to increase awareness of the community development block grant funds, actually in primarily Cdbg, but I guess it also could apply to home funds. And this year it's April 11th through 15th. You may be seeing just emails from staff, you know, and you know, to the listserv in general, of just making people aware that it's Community Development Week during that period of time, and what funds from Cdbg and Home have gone out into the community in totals, and what projects they've gone into. So that's the only purpose of that agenda item, is to make you aware of that coming down.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any comments from any other staff or any of the participants? Seeing none, then this meeting will be adjourned. Thank you very much. It was very, very fast, and I appreciate, Michael, the work that you guys have done, because this is a trying time, and now that you've got this done, you know, you got your work cut out for you this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Emily, for your help on the scoring. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely happy to help.
Yes,
couldn't
thank
get logged
everyone. And really, Emily, you know, everything, all this is the reflection of the work Emily and Rebecca have done, also our finance department. So, but thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.